So, Pei Su, Chief Exec of ActAsia. Hello, welcome. Really lovely to see you. We've known each other about 10 years now, I think, thinking back on it. And we did some work together, didn't we, on training vets to neuter in China a little while ago. But I thought, really, I'd just start asking you maybe about cats in China. I know they've become very popular pets in China, and there's been big changes. So maybe give us a little bit of background about that.
Yes, absolutely. It's great to be able to, see Claire and talk, in very relaxing way, because both of us, it was, before COVID, we were, traveling mad and then all over the place. So to be able to see old friends and old colleagues, that is a blessing in some way. And been working with, you and International Cat Care, like I said, back 10 years ago. And I think since I grew up in Asia, in my childhood, we never really see cats as a proper companion animals. It was just some animals in our society. But definitely, I think for, last 20 years, the cat lover are growing so significantly in China. And cat lover, I probably think in many, especially on major city, they're probably more preferable to be the pets at home rather than dogs, because there's a lot more restriction within China about dog keeping. I think cat is a bit more, flexible and more accepted by, the community, because, dog need exercise, go out, and they have more kind of called up responsible pet ownership conflict issues. So if you take out your dogs, lots of them, they don't pick up the feces, the barking, the biting, and I think cats tend to have less controversial issues like that. And I think also cats is, we're cat lover ourselves, they're much easier in the sense maintenance, in a way. And I do see the significant growth in China about the cat keeping, related to the vet, treatments, as well related to the relevant pet accessory business, all relevant as well.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think are the main welfare issues? I mean, we all have welfare issues in whatever country we're in, but I don't know if there's a general feel or.
I think that the fundamental thing with the animal welfare as a whole, not only about cats, I think that we still are within Asia, particularly in China, is still, there's still a long way to go. The understanding of, welfare, what is welfare, and even before welfare is what is needs of animal. That still need, there's still a lot of progress need to be made. And so, for example, using the COVID issue, when the COVID was really bad at the beginning of February, the end of January, the lockdown actually was unprecedented, and nobody expected that. So it was the Chinese New Year's time. So a lot of people actually went back to their hometown. So these people actually, lots of them, they actually left their dog or cats on their own for days. And then they realized they couldn't even go, they might leave 3 days and left food. But now in the end, they find they can't go back 3 days. But even, I think in the culture, in the pet keeping practice, to leave the dog 3 days at home on his own, or cat on his own for 3 days, is unheard of. In our way, for us, this is just unthinkable in a sense. And I think that's why the lockdown becomes a huge issue for the even own pets.
Yeah.
In China. And I just using this example to say how far ahead I was joking to people, say, would anyone put even just 2 days, 3 days, would anyone put a toddler at home for 3 days? Even you think that toddler would go to grab, food, or would be an auto feeder, but it was just a responsibility, is the companionship, or also see animals as sentience, it's a life itself. I think this is all this concern we were not make that decision. And I would think this is why we still have a long way to go, despite is growing, is getting better, the recognition of the animals' relationship with humans, the recognition of the welfare is getting, growing, every day, but it's still very far from how we would treat animal compared to the developed countries as well.
Yeah. So we'll come back to it in a minute. When we first met, we first did a little bit of work with you at ActAsia, you were training vets to neuter cats and to do veterinary care of cats and dogs, but we primarily work with you on the cats. Are you still doing that?
Yes. Last year, we started the vet training program under our professional education, back in 2009. And last year, 2019, was our 10 years anniversary for this program particularly. And we started this program was because we found, there's lots of people that love cats, they want to rescue cats, or they want to, end the animal suffering, particularly on cats. But when they come to veterinary treatments, the skill or the standard or the practice itself is still needed a lot of improvement and support. And that's how we started. We hope by doing a veterinary training program, the vets will be able to help the animal group to rescue more cats, because the cat can be look up, rescue, neuter, and or spay and release back quickly. Otherwise, they could up to a lot of implication, the infection after the disease after neutering, or they could cause a lot of recovering rate very slowly. And so that's how we started. And we also feel the vets itself, it should become a best advocates for the animal welfare. Again, that was not something it was, it developed in that part of the world. Well, that's how we started. And this program, most importantly, is we feel is training the Chinese vets know how to practice golden standard, and they could teach in their own fellow veterinary vets as well. So it's not like we bring a foreigner to teach them and then we just keep teaching them. We have almost 20 trainers, and they can do the training in different parts of China. They were teaching them and to go further, to expand these kind of the peers by themselves. And that peers is established by themselves, and they will be, influenced by each other as well.
Yeah. So is neutering promoted? Is population management something that's promoted in China? Is it common to have your pet cat neutered?
I think it's getting better, it's growing, but there's still lots of owners, they don't feel is right. The awareness of the neutering cat, is getting more accepted, but we could not say there's no obstacle. Still lots of people, they still think is, traditional. I don't think that's the way to do it, or they don't think that it's necessary to do it. They might always think, oh, my cats never go out. Why would I need to do that? And I think in this country, or in lots of, developed country, it's almost, there's not even up for discussion. If you are not a breeder, if you don't want to breed a litter, you just neuter your cats. You almost think it's not even a question. You just do it, because that's how everybody do it. You don't want to have increased that chance. But I think that kind of concept still need to be, promoted and need more, awareness campaign in a sense. It's getting better though. It's compared to 10 years ago, I see the huge difference. The vets also the vets are more willing to discuss about them as well. Before, the vets might say, really touchy issue, don't really want to upset the pet owners in a sense.
Yeah. I mean, there are many places where, neutering of cats isn't, the norm. And it's just one of those things, I suppose, population management's important, but just because of the welfare issues that come when you've got too many cats and nobody looking after them, and huge reproduction. But certainly there are problems that even in the UK there are problems with it in places, aren't there? So yeah, so it's interesting to know. But you've got a big job. You've started something, and even the training of the neutering and everything.
Yeah, I think a lot of time when we are talking about this is really the perception and understanding of animals. I think, like in my own experience, a lot of time we just don't see animals are sentient in a way is they can feel pain. They are really clever. They're really smart. They're very intelligent animal in a sense, and they could feel suffering, pain. That is something we need to continue to, advocate or teaching even through veterinary practice. It's lots of time we tell our vets, it's not about how quick in your operation you neuter a cat, because at the beginning they would say, oh, I can do that 5 minutes. We would say, well, it's not 5 minutes. It's whether you make sure all your, your from anesthetic to all the aesthetic, you need scrubbing, everything is fully matching the standard, so your cat was looking after has a way look after this practice. And I think they didn't, if we didn't have that as a foundation, it's very easy just become very technical issue. We always laugh about the beginning. I always say, well, my incision is only 3 centimeters if I neuter male cat. So they make it really, really tiny, and they compete with each other. My incision is 3 centimeters, you is 5 centimeters, so you're not as good as me. Or I can do it in 5 minutes. For male cat, you have to do 15 minutes. So when we started the training program, they all say they're very experienced. But when they come, they actually could take them an hour to do it. Because once they have to do it properly with the best practice, they realize the welfare should not be compromised and should not be cut corners, and I think from all these practice, we are not only to contribute to the stray animal control, is also improve the welfare standard as a whole, and then also bring in up the veterinary standard to understand animal welfare as well.
Yeah, there's a lot to think about, isn't there?
Even a small training, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, which sort of brings us on to how your work developed, because it sort of went beyond that, didn't it? It went beyond to thinking about how do you get people to think empathetically about animals, and you started doing some work with children and schools.
Yes, absolutely. We felt we started as very traditional animal welfare organizations approach. We try to talk to the pet owner, try to talk to animal groups and veterinary, but more work we do, especially after I become a mother, I learn, as a, you learn how a child was learning from a role model, and how they absorb things around them. And we actually, especially we found a lot of these cats actually, a lot of these children are actually very empathetic and very, kind and caring to animals. They like cats, but it's very often when they're working on the street, from the school to home, or outside the play in a playground, they see cats. Most of the time, the grown-ups will give very negative view about animals. They will say, "Oh, don't touch a stray animal. They're really dirty. They can bring you disease. They could bite you." So there was nothing positive. It doesn't mean, of course, you need to have safety concern. But if you see a kitten, we will say, "Oh, how sweet!" We will say how to teach the kids to learn from this animal. But in that part, it's very common. There was all this negative view. So kids actually, they're empathetic, their kindness, they care towards the animals being taken away. So the older they are, the worse they become. They're fierce to animals. They always see animals are dirty. Cats are very dirty. But we know cats is actually the most clean animal. All these things is to become, they were given the wrong information or negative information from their parents, the grandparents, the schools, the teachers don't like animals. So that really make us realize we are in this vicious circle. We ended up just almost like try to resolve the problem when it become stress.
Yeah.
And that's what we feel is really important why we're doing, professional training for the veterinary. I think it's really important to change that mindset, change the whole, perception towards animal and even human animal relationships, the public health issue. The zoonotic disease issue can be discussed, but not by negative way to talk about it. And I think that's where our caring for life education comes in. Follow, for UNESCO's 4-pillar education is really when the kids grow up, they should become a global responsible, citizen. And these citizenships, including caring about, nature and animals in our, society. And I think that's where we extend it. We feel if we are keep doing existing work, we couldn't make that long-term change. And I think this is probably very similar to, ICC is education is also so important to your organization. And I think that's how we work well as a two organization. And how do we help, the vicious circle to break, and then we put a stop and have that paradigm shift as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting as a charity to go down the education route, isn't it? Because it doesn't trigger people to, I suppose, to donate to you and things as much as when people are picking up animals off the street. And yet, for example, your veterinary work and your work with children can just multiply that so much, because they tell somebody else and they tell somebody else. So you can be reaching huge numbers of animals through those people and hopefully keep it growing. But it is one of those areas where you have to work really hard for funds. And I'm sure that's the case for you.
Absolutely. I think for us, it's very difficult to sell emotive stories straight away. The education, I think lots of, many people feel very important, but education require the funders, donors have long-term vision, and they require them the understanding of change of culture, change of attitudes is taking time. And I think we both, even before we met, we both have been working in, the charity sector for a long time. Lots of time, the immediate aid related kind of practice or action is very good, very rewarding. But to really have long-term change, I think is education to make that difference. And I think for myself, my first 20 years in, charity sector for working for animals have been always on the front line, campaigning, protesting, feeding and rescuing, even undercover is very good. I have done that for 20 years. And I think from 2012, when I asked myself if I got another 20 years to do I want to continue to do what I was doing? There was nothing wrong with what I was doing, but I felt I just want to have change in long terms, away from, the band-aid or sticking the plasters, mentality to my organization, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to just stop that. Okay, so when we first met, Pei, and we did some work together, it was about the neutering of cats and teaching the vets to neuter. And obviously you have trainers and you've been training your trainers to go out there and work. But what were attitudes towards neutering, and what kind of things did you have to train people to do?
Yes. I think when we started the veterinary program, we realized a lot of vets for companion animals very new to them as well, because when they were in veterinary college or university, they tend to focus on larger farm animal. I think that's what happened in England or in Europe in the past. So to help them to understand companion animals is really important, not only from the physical sense, is from or medical sense, is really understand animals are sentient animals have feeling. They are sentient being. They have feel, they can feel pain, they could be stressed, to really teach the vets from that angle also is bring in the best practice from the West, with animal welfare concerns, animal welfare standard to be embedded in their veterinary practice. So when we train them at the beginning, I was saying that, before when we started this program before, is the vets could be very proud to say, what do we need to be trained about how to do neutering? We can do in 5 minutes, to neuter a male cat, no problem. And they could be very fast. They can be, like very small incision. They compete, I do 3 centimeter, you do 5 centimeter. The smaller one will be better. But to enable them to have a 3 centimeter incision might cause more infection because they're not doing properly. So they almost miss the point of what is a good veterinary practice for a successful neutering, operation is make sure the cat doesn't have infection rates, the cat, has the good recovering. This is all missing in the whole practice. And I think we also explain to the vets, your role is advocates for animals. You are not just animal objects doctors, so their status is very low. So I think the whole veterinary training program, although it's focused on neutering practice, actually enable them to understand welfare better. They understand the importance of their role. They understand animals, welfare, how to combine practice in, their daily job. And most importantly is really make them to follow in the proper procedure to ensure the welfare is being looking after. It's very common at the beginning, 10 years ago, when we were talking to the vets about after the operation, they should give cats or dog painkiller. They was like, why? That's operation's done. And we would say, but why not? They just don't seem to think they can feel pain. We were saying, well, if you're gonna get a cut open, have an incision, would you have a painkiller? So yeah, but so why not a cat? So such a simple thing. It's not they being cruel. They just haven't been taught, from a large animal to a small animal, and how that is in practice welfare things. And they were saying, no, I don't want to do that because that will increasing the cost of £5 or £3. And I would say, but you don't pay for it. The veterinary, the pet owner, if they really love the cats, they say, oh, this will reduce. I'm sure £5 that the cat owner will pay. They say, no, you can't. I say, why? He said, no, then my price will be higher than the vet practice next week. So my price, I will be sick. But I say, well, but you are a better welfare vet. Yeah. Your reputation will come out. And I think even small things like this take them years, to get it, to say, this is something it's a gold standard. It's a basic practice. But now our vets, our trainer, when they do it, they will tell their own colleagues, they will tell their own peers, this is what we have to do. Nobody will question it. But small change like this, it will take time. It's not by us to forcing them, say, oh, you're cruel, you're really bad. It's they understand why do we have to do this. And I think they come back to the importance of education. It is very important, but it will take a long time to see the change. But once the change has started, it can be multiple much quicker because it's done by local, the people within their own country use their long language as well.
Yeah. So we're in a very strange time with coronavirus, and we would probably have met before and done this with somebody filming us, but here we are doing it over Zoom. Obviously working in China, you may have been aware of the problems before we were in other parts of the world. Did that affect your work?
I mean, I say to a lot of people when the COVID started, that was, I think it's the end of January, and the lockdown was happened on 27th of January. I remember that day very well because I remember there was a news about this is the last train going to Wuhan. Nobody can get out now from this time, this moment. So in a sense with the COVID, it started very early. I think our lockdown was 2 months later. I think our lockdown was in the UK was 21st of March. You know, so it's almost two months gap. With these 2 months, what happened in China, I have seen, and we feel as a group on the ground, we were reporting a lot of news, you know, to our colleagues in the West, you know, and to explain what's happening, what is, you know, the disease, how, you know, we're discussing about even the wet market, etc. So we did lots of the work is related to emergency about the COVID-19 issues ourselves. You know, we even were checking is how when the COVID at some stage was affected dog, and then, you know, the people started to panic, you know, they even throwing the cats out. You know, we were trying to on the ground to really explain to using the WHO with the information from, you know, West to transfer to in Chinese to say don't panic, you know, they are not the intermediate host. You know, actually it's like us, we will get, you know, COVID, they will get COVID. So it's the you know, lots of study need to be done. They should not be just abandon them or treat them. We did see some small scale of, you know, the cruelty case because of the COVID, but I think that wasn't, you know, as bad as, you know, we were concerned about. I think in last 2 months, we have gradually moved back to where our routine work, and from this, you know, next month, the offline, so where our physical event will be able to start it within China, but is how we still try really hard to use COVID-19 within China for people to understand humans' responsibility towards animals and natures. And that's something we utilize it for a lot of people to understand, you know, as a person, you know, as a human, our responsibility towards animals in that sense. And sadly, I think although the cat awareness and then the cat popularity and the ownership is increasing, sadly the cat abusing is actually increasing in China as well. That is something we always see the opportunity to educate the public.
So where are you going in the future? What are you focusing on? I mean, it's a huge task you're undertaking here. What's next?
Yes, I think it's really important to for us to continue to have the support within China and outside China to support, you know, the organization like us. And we are the, you know, one of very few organizations, we're probably the only organization working on the ground to emphasize so much, you know, focus on education is changing the mind, changing the heart, to enable people to understand the change will not overcome, you know, the change will not happen overnight. The change will require our effort within teaching the young kids to maintain their empathy, you know, maintain their care to animals, not be, you know, told or taken away by the grown-ups. And the veterinary training we need to be able to continue because it's so important for the vets. They can teach their own vets. This is where we have been very successful. You know, it's not like we bring in international vet, but when they left, the project will collapse. So it's continue to make sure the project can be run. China is so big. We only done 10 years, but there's so many cities now. We were invited to do the practice training to how to do more. Vets want to learn how to be a welfare vets, but we could not continue this program without the funding support, you know. So, but we ask people to understand the long-term change is very important. We may not be able to rescue this cat straight away from the street or from the meat market, but is hoping, you know, the more people like myself in future, I should not be so alone. I hope we will have an army of people that all do what I'm doing. And I think that's what ActAsia tried to build and tries to, you know, to provide this, you know, opportunity and change on the ground as well.
Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about your schools program, because we haven't really touched on that.
when I started, you know, we did start it as an animal protection organization's position, but in 2012, I feel, you know, with the country's political context, we felt education is so much needed. A lot of cruelty cases happen not because people are cruel, it was because people just ignorant. They don't understand. You know, like the vets, even the vet itself didn't feel the painkiller was important to a cat after the operation. So I feel it's really important to break that vicious circle. So otherwise, when the kids grow, when they're empathetic, they can't to animal. But when they go to the park, they say, "This is dirty. This is really negative. This is really dangerous. They might bite you. If they bite you, they got rabies." So all you feel with towards animal is negative, negative, wrong, dangerous, don't touch. You know, and how if everyone grew up in giving that sense, if there's one person feel differently, they feel very isolated and lonely. They can't make a bigger change. We want to reach that critical mass. We want to have, you know, the more people want to join us, their change. And that have to start within the country. So what we have done is we develop our training program, we develop our curriculum, and we train the teachers to do it. And so enable them to, the teachers learn, although we want to change children, but enable them to teach children. The teachers have to learn our curriculum. And the curriculum itself is focused on 6 to 12 years old. So it's in the primary school education period, and it's 10 lessons a year. So they can learn these 6 lessons throughout the 6 years. So we have a school now using our curriculum for 6 years already. And they feel the kids, they're more empathetic, you know, they are not on. The most interesting thing is the people will say, well, you just teach them about animal. We say, no, actually we teach them how to be a good person. This good person is not cruel to you, human and non-humans. So, you know, it's when the cats learn, when the child learn how to look after a cat, we were saying is, it look like we teach them about cats. Actually, we teach them responsibility. So we teach them, so if you want to, you know, own, you know, if you want to own something, or if you want to be with some, you know, animal, you actually have to take that responsibility. And this is, as a parents, we all facing, all in a modern society. How do we make our kids feel more responsible, so they are not, you know, being spoiled, or they are not being, you know, irresponsible? Responsibility is so important. And we were teaching, you know, even the teachers and even parents, is that this is the best way. Animals are actually our best teachers, to enable the 6 years old, 7 years old say, what is responsibility? They don't get it. But by saying, actually responsibility, it means you will have to feed them twice a day. You have to make sure the clean water, you make sure they have a clean litter tray. That is, through this, they learn responsibility. And I think this is very well received within the country. And so we've been very lucky. We have, you know, things, at the end of 2019, we have reached over 90,000 children. We have over 100 schools have using the curriculum. At the moment, we have 10 pioneer schools. That these courses are taught as a part of the curriculum time. It's not after school club. It's in using a curriculum time, and the course will be taught by the trained teacher within school as well.
Yeah. Wow, that's a lot of work. In 2017, International Cat Care gave you our welfare award for all your work. Now, I think I saw you got some other awards as well.
Yes, yes. I think that's what we're very proud for ActAsia. You know, thanks to International Cat Care for my award in 2017, and in 2018, we won the award in Nepal by Asia for Animals for the Next Generation Award. It was, again, will recognize our support, you know, in education. In 2019, I won the award from Shanghai Media Groups for Best Charity Leadership Award. And so it's a great honor, because I received the award in the same category with Jack Ma for, he is the mega business and philanthropist in China from Alibaba. And so that was recognized out again for promoting sustainability education within China. And actually just before lockdown, seems a long time ago, but my latest award is received this year in January. And I went to Beijing. I was received award in Beijing. It was the best charity figures 2019 under the China Charity Festival. So again, this is recognition within the country for our educational work as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Congratulations. That's absolutely brilliant and so well deserved.
Thank you. And I think the thing is, one of our program, this is whole education is for creating a more compassionate world. And I think this is what needed in China. The compassion need to be, extended from between humans to non-human animals. And I think that's needed. But we need more support, globally as well, not only within China, because like you say, China is so big, the country is the population-wise, the size-wise, and ActAsia is only have a small team of people.
Yeah, it's a lot of hard work.
It is. It's a blood and sweat in some way.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me. It's been just lovely to catch up with you because time whizzes so fast, doesn't it? It just time goes past and we miss each other, but it's been so lovely to catch up. Thank you so much, and good luck, because there's obviously a lot of hard work ahead for all of us.
Yes, no, I mean, we all understand this is hard work, but this is what we are very lucky to be able to give an opportunity to continue to work on the ground. And we thanked for, ICC's support today, and, hope, to thank you, for from in front of your supporters as well. And then I hope more people understand, within China, I know now it's lots of disappointment or lots of, very sensitive feelings, towards China, but what ActAsia has done in China is needed. The change has to be made, and change has to happen within the country. And it's not going to be a quick fix, but I truly believe if we invest now, we will see the result to have change within their own society. And this change was hope happen by itself within a country, not by us pointing a finger, say you are bad, you need to change. And I think that's where our attitude or our ethos is, to create that compassionate world within the change in China and by their own people.
Yeah. Pei, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Talk to you.
Thank you very much.